Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and as a shoulder charge lover from all the way back in Destiny 1, it warms my heart to tell you all that Peregrine Greaves shoulder charge is back on the menu in Destiny 2 PvE, and I am excited to not only show you this build, but also why shoulder charge is so effective this season. First off, Peregrine Greaves did get a rework, so now the armor perk says, Peregrine Strike, all shoulder charge abilities deal bonus damage when activated in the air. Remember, there is a small cooldown when you activate it, so you have to make sure that you have the Peregrine Strike active before you use your shoulder charge. It also uses a bit of your shoulder charge energy if you do not connect with a shoulder charge. So say you're just using it to move around the map, you still will lose a little bit of your melee energy. But the good part is that damaging mini-bosses, tormentors, or champions will, with your shoulder charge, refunds your melee. Full melee charge. That is fantastic. Provides a small benefit to the airborne effectiveness stat of all weapons. So there's a lot of enemies in the coil that are counted as mini-bosses. So you're going to have to be selective on which ones you hit, but when you do, you're going to refund your entire melee, and you can essentially just continue meleeing them with your shoulder charge until they die, which is pretty hilarious. Another benefit to the shoulder charge on Solar Titan this season is Revitalizing Blast. Causing damage with a solar ability weakens champions and bosses for a short duration. So that means you can use that as well, especially on champions. It is insanely effective. Against mini-bosses in the coil, it is very effective as well. And overall, Peregrine Greaves are just so much better. But let me jump into my build now. First off, I'm using Super Cluster, the new Strand Shotgun. That's just because I've just really enjoyed trying it out. It has Slice and Vorpal weapon. Slice, if you didn't know, says casting your class ability allows this weapon to sever targets. So you can just cast your class ability and then go apply Sever to any enemy, and they're going to do less damage to you, which is very, very effective, especially at higher end activities, or once you get to like round 4 of the coil activity or something like that. I'm also using Devil's Ruin just for fun. I think this is a very good weapon, especially this season, with some of the artifact mods making you radiant pretty consistently. And overall, I just like the closer range weapons in the coil activity specifically, but also in a bunch of content. You can also use this to stun unstoppable champions. Remember, it doesn't work against barrier because it has the intrinsic unstop. And then also I am using Unwavering Duty. This is Killing Wind and Killing Tally. It's just a machine gun I really enjoy using, but these are all up in the air. The main focus of this build is a shoulder charge, so everything else is just a bonus. You can kind of mix and match however you like it. As far as the artifact perks that I'm using, I really make sure I'm using Kindling Trigger as well as Flint Striker. This is going to help me become Radiant and also apply Scorch to a bunch of enemies. And then Heart of the Flame is also very nice, as well as Revitalizing Blast like I mentioned, and also Ray of Precision. This is going to ignite enemies with your Solar Precision final blows, so you're going to see a lot of explosions even with Devil's Ruin, which doesn't normally apply them consistently. So that's very, very nice. As far as the subclass, I have Hammer of Soul. This is a great super, especially if you want to throw it at your feet. With the first hammer, get that sunspot going and then just go and start throwing it at the bosses. It is very, very effective. Obviously, we're using Hammer Strike. This is nice because if you do defeat a mini boss or a target, you're actually going to ignite them as well, create a little explosion around you, which is very, very good. But you're going to be scorching them even if you don't defeat them. Again, doing extra damage, which is nice. I like to use a fusion grenade because it does a bunch of damage. And then also my aspects are your standard Roaring Flames as well as Soul Invictus. This is going to allow me to stay alive during different activities, get some restoration because I am in those scorch stacks pretty consistently and in the sunspots. And so you're going to be applying scorch to enemies. You're going to be doing all that stuff. Also, the Roaring Flames is very nice, especially when you toss a grenade first and then use your shoulder charge. It just works out in a pretty good synergy there. Next up, we have the fragments, Ember of Char, Ember of Eruption, Combustion, as well as Torches. This is all obviously going to make you radiant consistently when you're using your melee attacks. Just remember, you don't have to kill the enemy combatants in order to make yourself radiant. You can use this on one of those mini bosses not kill them, refund your melee charge, and also make yourself radiant. So this is very, very nice. And again, you're going to want these fire sprites pretty consistently as well. The mods are going to be Solar Siphon, Heavy Ammo Finder, we've got Heavy Handed, Impact Induction, Momentum Transfer, Melee Damage Resist, and Arc Damage Resist, because it was Arc Threat this week, as well as Solar Reserves. Then we've got double solar weapon surge, better already, and then distribution, outreach, and time dilation. You can mix up some of these like better already. I just like it because there are a lot of orbs in these activities, and you're able to stay alive very easily by running around and playing at close combat. So essentially with this build, you're not going to want to melee everything with your shoulder charge. You're going to be a little bit more selective. The caveat to that is if you're playing the coil activity and you get that 300% melee regeneration increase, you're going to be able to get this back consistently, so you can just use it on whatever you want. But if you're really going to use this build properly, you want to save your shoulder charge for mini bosses and for champions specifically. And I have tested this out in higher end activities like a Master Lost Sector and that kind of thing, and it does work against those champions and does a really nice chunk of damage, especially once you've stunned them. It is fantastic. So highly recommend trying that out. Other than that, really, this is a very close range build. It might not be super effective in a Grandmaster Nightfall just because of the distance you have to play. You might have to swap around your weapons, but I do think it is viable with the abilities part of this build in order to take down champions very consistently and very quickly. Same thing with mini bosses, because you can get them down essentially in one hit to very low health, to almost finisher level health at that point. And that's really why I like the shoulder charge this season, because it finally feels viable, especially if you're running something that allows you to have restoration consistently, so you're healing and you can not have to worry about playing at that closer range. Now, there are some other options, like I said, for your weapons that you could possibly swap out for. Maybe you toss on Tiku's instead of Devil's Ruin, and that would give you a lot of range, and I think would be very effective as well. That's something that I've tested out, and I really enjoyed. Tiku's is very nice this season with those artifact perks, and if you did swap those two, you really wouldn't have to make any additional changes. But yeah, just go shoulder charge everything, but I'm just kidding. Be selective, shoulder charge those big enemies, and enjoy the build. I think it's a lot of fun, and I just really enjoy this style of gameplay personally, and I hope you do too. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Helps me out tremendously. Shows you want to see more Destiny 2 content from me going forward. I appreciate all the support on the channel lately. I've been doing a ton of variety, so if you're a fan of Destiny 2 specifically, then thank you for the love. It does mean the world to me. My name is Jopa. Have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.